Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, am I really living the life I was meant to? Welcome to Female Fluence, where we stop waiting for permission and start remembering our power. I am Pearl Mashur, a mom, educator, and a women's empowerment coach. And this is a space for honest conversations about growth, purpose, and becoming who you truly are. Here, we wake up to ourselves. We release the guilt, reclaim our confidence, and rise with grace, truth, and a little bit of fire. If something in you is whispering, there's more, take the self-reflection quiz at femalefluence.com and see where you are in your journey. Because you're not here to play small, you're here to rise fully. Being a great communicator isn't just a nice skill, it's essential. In our personal lives, communication is how we build trust, express our needs, and create deep, meaningful relationships. In our professional lives, it's what drives teamwork, fosters collaboration, prevents conflicts, and fuels career growth and leadership. But communication goes far beyond the words we say. It's our body language, our tone, and even the first impression we make when we walk into the room. The bottom line, communication is actually one of your greatest assets. When you have the ability to connect authentically and communicate clearly, you don't just get heard, you set yourself apart. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing Jane Hanson, a 9-time Emmy Award-winning journalist whose career has spanned everything from anchoring NBC's Today in New York to reporting from the Gobi Desert. She has interviewed presidents and prisoners, covered the heartbreak of 9/11 and the joy of Yankee parades, and now challenges all of that storytelling experience into coaching executives and entrepreneurs on how to communicate with true impact. She has reinvented herself many times: broadcaster, host, educator, coach, and through it all, her insights on leadership, resilience, and authentic presence continue to resonate in today's fast-changing world. A true media trailblazer, she's also a distinguished Forbes writer and a communication coach committed to empowering others to reach their full potential. Today, we will dive into Jane's journey of breaking barriers in the industry, her strategies that fueled her success, and how she helps others carve their own unique paths to achievement. Jane, welcome to Female Fluence. I know I'm really, I know you.
Whoa. I did all that. Wow.
You've done a lot. Now that when you listen to it, you're like, wow, I've done a lot.
Well, thank you very much for that beautiful intro.
Of
I really
course.
appreciate it.
It's well deserved. Thank you for being on my show. I know you've had a busy day. I know you just got off a plane. I appreciate it. So I'm so glad to make this work. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you first get started in television?
Well, I have always wanted to be a journalist from the time I was a little girl. And remember, I grew up in the middle of the country in a little teeny tiny town. And if you remember or ever saw Little House on the Prairie,
I
that's
did.
very, very much like where I grew up. That town called Walnut Grove, Minnesota, is very close to my hometown, where if you stand on a hill, and there aren't very many, you can see forever. So it was the prairie, and my little town. I was related to almost everybody in it, and so it's a long ways from me ultimately working in New York City at 30 Rockefeller Plaza, the iconic and esteemed building with all the wonderful people that I did. So when I went to college, I knew I wanted to be a journalist of some sort because I wanted to see the world. I wanted to tell stories, and I wanted to watch history being made before my eyes. And that's exactly what happens in the world of journalism. And so I got a degree in broadcast journalism and said, okay, now what? And I started out in a little tiny small town, smaller city in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, believe it or not, and ended up in New York pretty quickly. So I would like to say that I was very extraordinarily fortunate. And it was just has just been that part of my life was just the best ever. Work was never work. Work was always an experience, an adventure. It was, I never considered, and I still don't consider any day in my life to be actually work because to me it's all fun. And somebody actually pays me for it.
That's incredible. I mean, you don't meet a lot of people that will actually say that about their work. And if being able to say that, it's really a gift. So I think that's such a great story to share, and it's so inspiring. Now, I know you've had an interesting journey, and then now you've made into a switch into what you're doing now. Was there like a defining moment or like a gradual shift that you said, okay, this is going to lead me to this moment here?
A couple of things. One is that the broadcast industry is not necessarily kind to women. And don't there it's better now, but really it's about aging, it's about how you look. I mean, you have to be honest, cosmetics
Hmm.
play a big role. I think it's so much easier now than it was. And when I left the news business, which was probably about 10 years ago, the truth is you eh, you also, for me, at that moment in time, I had worked for so long by getting up very early in the morning. I got up at 3:20 a.m. to anchor early morning news, and I was on the Today Show frequently. I did just about every broadcast you can possibly imagine. When it was always when I was ready to take a vacation, some breaking news story would happen and I'd be sent off in the field to someplace and never took the vacation. And my daughter was getting older and I was going to bed earlier than she did. And I just decided this could be a recipe for disaster. And so part of me was eager to switch up what I was doing. And I got fortunate in that they let me have a job of my or a show of my own for a while. But the other part also was when I began to think about the future, and I was in the studio interviewing somebody one day, and they said to me as after the interview, I didn't get to say what I wanted to say, and like a light bulb went off in my head, and I thought, you didn't because I led you down another path, and you never got back to it. And for me, it meant I know how to help people tell their story. And then that's when I just decided I bet I could create a business out of this. And that's sort of how I got down that path. So it was a multitude of things kind of all crashing together at once that said, it's time for you to see what else you can do. And since then, I've been fortunate enough to not only meet an awful lot of interesting people and work with some very, very interesting characters, but it's also led me on places I never thought I'd go, which is something I'd like the people who are listening to us talk right now, I'd love them to think about when they're wondering, what am I going to do with my life? Where am I? Maybe I've been, you've got strong woman right behind you. Maybe I'm a strong woman, but I don't know what to do next. Where I would love them to think about what is it I want to do, and then how can I get there? Because dreams can come true. They really can. But you have to have the faith to take the leap.
I completely agree with you. And I feel like one of the things that everyone needs to really realize is the journey. Like for myself, it's like now that I'm in this journey and I'm just like, I have no idea what the outcome will be in, a few years from now, 10 years from now. But it's been so incredible right now. And I'm like meeting, I mean, I'm meeting an amazing person like yourself. Like I'm meeting and making connections and collaborating with so many amazing people, and they're making an impact because everyone that I interview or every client that I have, I feel
Mhm.
like I'm growing and I'm changing in the process. So I just think like everyone, if you're trying to think about something that you want to do or you're questioning it, don't get so stuck on the specifics. Kind of just follow the journey. And then like your situation, it kind of took you in one way and another way. And then it's like, something beautiful is coming out of it. So you have to be open to that.
You really need to be open and instead of thinking things like they said no, instead think, well, that's they said no, but two things. A, no could mean yes ultimately, or okay, that means I need to go a different way. And so
Yep.
just have faith in yourself. And that's what I discover. I work with so many people, particularly, I mean, men and women, and they all have the same kind of issue which affects them, which is I really want to do this, but I'm not sure that I have either the credibility or do I have the guts or I don't feel like it's the right time, or what if I can't make any money and can't support my family, or there's, the excuses can go from way up here to way down here. But if you instead look at it from the other side, which is what can I do really well? And you'll be surprised, especially if you ask other people, because they'll give you some perceptions of yourself and you're going to go, I do that.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, we are very mean to ourselves. I was
We
reading an
are.
article, it was called The Destroyer, and it was kind of like the destroyer is yourself, and it's kind of like the autoimmune disease of your mental health. Like you kind of destroy yourself automatically without knowing it by being so critical and saying, no, I can't do that. I'm not good at this. I would never be able to do this, that this stuff is for other people. And it's just like, really toning in and realizing that if you are more gentle, like that's why asking other people perspective and saying, okay, well, what do you think? And doing that kind of investigation, it opened up your eyes as like, wait, I can do all of these things I didn't even think I could, or I don't even look at myself this way. So
Right. I love women who are going back into the workplace and they'll say to me, I haven't worked since my youngest child was born, and and he's now 10 years old. And so the first thing they do is apologize. Well, I haven't worked for a while. I'm like, really? You haven't worked for a while? Let me think. Do you manage the family finances? Oh, so you're a CFO. Do you keep all the schedules and you'd organize everything, and they
so
go,
true.
uh-huh. Oh, you're the administrator. You're the COO, Chief Operating Officer. Then it's do you make, I mean, in most families, women make the decisions about what to buy and about where you're going to travel, or if you're going to do this, you're going to do that, et cetera, et cetera. So now you're the CEO, and I start to say all this stuff. And my favorite is, have you do any volunteers at your kids' school? And they go, I run the PTA. I go, whoa. Now because that's a harder job, I think, than being a CEO of a big corporation. So once you start to bring all this stuff up that
So
they
true.
really have a lot of experience, they just don't understand how important that is in helping them with their skill set. So, be kind. Just be kind to yourself.
Be
We're
kind to yourself.
we're
Yeah.
much kinder to our best friends, or to, family, or to if or somebody we know, than we are to ourselves. So,
It's so true. It's very true. Now, speaking of kindness, I would think that there's also empathy, right? So I know you talk about, you believe that showing empathy is really important in today's corporate world. How have you seen that value shift through time?
it's funny, during COVID, I'd actually been doing virtual work before COVID, so I was pretty familiar with how it worked, which gave me a real leg up when everything happened and we all immediately went to Zoom or Google Meets or whatever we went to. And I had a CEO once, pretty important guy, who reached out to me and he said, "Can you teach me to be vulnerable and compassionate during this difficult time?" I started to laugh. I go, nobody's going to teach you to be compassionate except yourself. But you've got to be thoughtful, and you have to do all these things that let people show who you really are. And I'll tell you one little thing that happened with one CEO is he was in the middle of doing a town hall meeting virtually with his entire team. And he had a small child who was just learning to walk. And of course, somehow his office door was open, and the kid, and you could see it, just like we can see your door behind you, that the kid's walking, the little girl's kind of, she's taking her first step, she's walking through the door. Now, in an old situation, the guy probably would have gone, somebody close that door and get her out of here. But instead, thinking compassionately and showing his vulnerability, he goes, "Oh, look, this is my youngest. She's walking. That's like her third or fourth step. Can you believe this? Oh, come on, everybody, let's cheer for her." And then he picks her up and he says, "Here she is." And he introduces her and he said, "Okay, sweetie, you know what? Go back in the other room and get a snack from mommy." And instead of allowing himself to become this kind of, oh, he was showing his own life. And when people see that you're just another human being and we all got the same stuff going on,
Yep.
it makes such a huge difference. So when I talk about being vulnerable. I don't mean that you're going to tell everybody your biggest problem and your deepest, darkest secret, but you are going to allow yourself to have feelings show. One of the bad raps women always get is that, oh, I'm afraid to give her really good feedback because she might start to cry, which is, I come on, how many times have you actually cried in front of someone when there's giving you some kind of feedback? Have you ever? No, me either. I might look at them and say, oh, really? I didn't. Can you show me some examples?
Mhm.
Particularly when I was on television, I'd say, can you show me something on a tape so I can actually see that? Because I don't feel it in that moment, but show me what I do, or elaborate, or give me, just give me more because I want, don't we all
No,
want to do the best job
of
possible?
course. So you can learn and do better.
Mhm. So I think we have to get rid of those stereotypes, and we also have to use, I mean, the word respect is a very important part of what I do. Let's just say that you're a boss and you've got somebody that you've tried. You've given them good feedback, you've given them opportunity after opportunity, and they're still not doing a good job. And you know they're out, right? But treating them with the dignity and respect that you would like to be treated with is super important.
Mhm.
It just boils down to being a really true human being and helping, saying, look, this isn't working for us, but let's think about what could work for you and how can we help you get to the best next place in your life. So just being having empathy and understanding. I did an interview once with Indra Nooyi, the woman who ran PepsiCo for a while. And she told me that it was really important to that everybody bring their whole self to work. And what did she mean by that? She meant that when you walk out the door of your house, you're not suddenly just work Jane, you're still the whole Jane. And if you had some kind of a problem and it needed to be dealt with, talk about it. Come and say, look, I can't be myself today because, my daughter's sick. We just got a bad diagnosis. And she said, I would tell them, go deal with that because you're not going to be a good employee unless you're completely whole and your whole
So
self.
true.
And so it's really, and we need to think about that. When something has upset you, figure out how am I going to deal with this effectively so that you can be the best employee and be the best father or mother or the best, whatever. Because we have to be our whole selves always, or we're never going to be good at anything.
Yeah, and when you're your whole self, you do better. When you're in that flow, when you feel good, you're
Mhm.
going to do better and accomplish more at work. And that's why I feel like that relationship too between your boss and you, if I like I always say like you can I always feel the energy when I enter an office, whether it's like a doctor's office or a restaurant. If everyone is happy and working together, I mean, the service is completely different. The
Right.
energy is different. But if there's like friction and then you see two employees in the back talking together, someone's talking behind someone's back, there's not a good relationship with the boss, the customers all feel it. Like you feel it when you go there to get a service. So,
Right. And never more so than now, because we got so many other things in the way. You've got like try an automated system to get hold of
yes,
another human being, or something was it's just it's so hard that those simple little touches that will make
make a
somebody,
difference.
yeah, they're huge. And they're not even, I mean, even at the very top levels, they're important. They're really important. Something so simple as good morning, how are you? Or a big smile. So,
Yes, it's so true. It's interesting. Yesterday, I went and I had my son was off in the morning, and we went and grabbed. He had a dentist appointment, and we got coffee and breakfast. And he had his own food. He's not a breakfast person, so he wanted to bring his like pastrami sandwich. And so I just needed a cup of coffee, And so I asked, and this is going back to like making that first impression. Like it was a new restaurant. I didn't even know what it was. I went to pick something next door and I looked and I said, well, they're like, can I help you? I go, I just want to get a cup of coffee and something little to eat, but my son already has his food. They were so nice. They let us sit outside, bring his food. But the biggest biggest thing of it is our waiter, he came and he had like a whole conversation. He talked to my son. I mean, for the little time that I was there, and it was just like an oatmeal and like a cup of coffee. I was like, I'm definitely coming back to this place because I made it like such a connection. I just felt like I'd gone to someone's house. They were so welcoming. It was, it's like that first little, like, and first impression that we talk about. I didn't even know what this restaurant was, but now I'm always going to remember it because of the way they treated us.
And by
So,
the way, you're probably telling other people.
yeah, exactly. I will tell other people for sure. Like, whenever so that's the best type of like real advertisement, right? It's like the real
Word
true
of mouth.
feeling that I got about that place, and I made a connection. So just wanted to share that little story since talking about all this communication and first impression.
Well, you talked about first impressions, and that's one of the things. So there's this, the word executive, or the phrase executive presence is a really big deal now in
Hmm.
in a lot of companies because this it's the kind of I do a lot of this training. And what executive presence is really when somebody is you can they just immediately let you know that they're a true leader because of the way that they act. And first impressions are a big part of that. People make an impression in their head about you within 7 seconds of meeting you. Now, you may not have even opened your mouth, but it's about the way that you look, the way that you have use your face, your facial the facial expressions you have, your eye contact, whether you're shaking a hand, your posture, your attire. Now you may think attire doesn't matter, but it really does. I mean, I could tell you story after story of where somebody has had a problem because they did not fit in when they went to an office in any kind of way. And it doesn't mean it wasn't because they weren't wearing a suit or a dress. It means because they were wearing clothing that didn't fit in to whatever kind of a culture. So you got to do homework for first impressions. What kind of culture does somebody have? What do they wear when they go to the office? Are they in jeans or are they in suits and ties? It's interesting. I'm in New York City right now, and when you walk down Park Avenue, you will see a whole cadre at lunchtime of guys, and most of them will have button-down shirts, probably blue, maybe white, maybe striped, whatever, khaki pants, some form of really dressy sneaker or a loafer or something, and maybe a little polar fleece vest or something. But they all are dressed kind of like that. So now that's like business. But if you go further downtown where there's a lot of fintech places, they might be in hoodies. So you got to dress the way that you know the people that you're going to be seeing are. And you can tell easily by looking at their websites, by having
Right.
conversations, that kind of thing. So it all matters. It really does.
Yeah, that's very true. So now I know you say when you like step into a room, you set the tone, right? Before you even say a word. But what is the most powerful thing? Like, what makes your first impression so powerful? Is it the way you're dressed? Is it the way you carry yourself, the way your posture is? Like, what would you say how is that actually formed?
I think it's the way you walk into a room and the way you look into somebody's eyes. And then if you've done your homework on them and you say something that will make them recognize that they really are interested. It's about being interested in other people,
Hmm.
but being curious. You ask a good question. You say, "Good morning. I see you have all these pictures of sailboats. Are you a sailor?"
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, that starts a conversation, which may have nothing to do with why you're there, but it shows that you're interested. So we have to be curious and interested in another human being in order to get, in order for them to say, hey, I like this person. Likability and trust are the two biggest factors that fall into play when it comes to getting a job, keeping a job, working well, gaining executive presence, becoming a leader. And you can talk to any one of those big names, those big CEO names we hear out there, and they will all tell you all about being likable and being trustworthy.
So, for those who want to become a stronger communicator like yourself, what practical tips or habits do you have that have like made a difference for you?
Well, I talk about the body language a little
Yeah.
bit. I want you to think about your voice. I just used the word because I was thinking instead of using the word, which are filler words, you might try to let there be a little space. So pace yourself when you're talking. Don't talk too fast because when you talk too fast, then people can't really understand what you're saying. And particularly women, when we talk too fast, we sound like we're doing, healing a balloon and all of a sudden, who knows? They don't hear a word we're saying. Then think about what your top message is. Why are you there? What is the point that you want to get across to someone? And make sure that it's very clear and it's concise. So think about your messaging ahead of time. Don't try to wing it. When somebody says to me, "Oh, I'm going to wing it," I'm just like, well, good luck with that. Winston Churchill had a phrase, and it was, failing to prepare is preparing to fail.
I like
So
that.
think about that. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So so prepare as much as you can. Now you can't, you can't spend hours on it, but a little bit will go a long ways towards that. Then use your smiles, use really good facial expressions. It takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile. There's one other interesting thing that a lot of us have that I don't think we know, which is our resting face, which is the face we have when we're listening. And some of them are not very attractive. They can be kind of like,
I hope I'm doing a good job. I'm like, now I'm paranoid.
I've been watching you. But what you do is everybody's got a phone with a camera on it. Sometimes you could, or even tape a Zoom call or something and look back at how you look when you're listening.
Mhm.
Because you look like you're interested and you're absorbed and that sort of thing. That also goes a long ways. And then active listening is super, super, super important. Why is that important? Because then it shows understanding. And again, it shows that you're interested and that you care. There's empathy, there's compassion in us listening to another human being. But if we're busy kind of doing this, and when we're talking to someone, like we're
Jane,
somebody,
this is something I'm trying to teach my husband, active listening. I was like, you need
they're
to be
the worst.
stop looking at the news, stop looking on your phone. I need eye contact.
It's important because it makes a huge, huge, huge difference. So good eye contact. And then instead of immediately jumping in with the solution, which is also a trait that men have more than
I was
women.
going to say that's another thing that he always does.
They jump in with the solution.
Yep.
Instead, sometimes
Superhero.
we don't want the
I just
solution.
want you to listen. That's
Just
it.
hear me,
Yep.
just hear me. And then because that means if somebody really hears you, they care. And then if they really care, then either maybe it's something you can work out together, or maybe it's they just want to vent. Whatever it is, listen. And then when you listen, it really displays an emotion that says, I care about you.
Yep. That's great. I love that. I hope some husbands are listening to this too. So now, Jane, why do you touch on it a little bit with vulnerability? And can you talk about authenticity? Because I know that's really important as a speaker. And how does being real with your audience change the way your message lands?
Well, again, some of this goes back to preparation. You have to know who that audience is. For example, you're not going to speak to, I mean, did you know that right now we have 5 generations working in the workplace? It's never happened before in the US. You have older people in their 70s, sometimes even their 80s that are working.
Hmm.
Got the baby boomers, then there's Gen X, then there's millennials, and then there's Gen Z. And by the way, the oldest Gen Zers are now turning 28. So those people are becoming forces in the workplace, lest you think they're just kids. And each one of them has a little bit of a different perspective. So we've
Yep.
got multi-generational workforce. And with that, with all of that comes, there can be some misunderstandings because we look at things differently. Our history of what we've seen is different. Some of the words we use, I sure as heck don't know a lot of those words that are coming out of a 19 or a 20-year-old's mouth when they say, yeah, they got the cred, which of course means they're very, they're a very credible human being. But when they say it, I'm like, wait a minute, what does that
I don't
mean?
get all that. Why is there so many shortcuts for words and abbreviations from the texting to the talking to the writing? Like I have, I have three kids, so I get it. And half of the time I'm like, wait, what does that even mean? And they start laughing because I can't keep up. I need a new dictionary.
Yes, I know they should have one for us. Give us a dictionary. Oh, and a lot of it is just shortening words. So, and if you really care, you'll try to think about what does that stuff mean? And they have to do the same thing. And then they, of course, they've grown up with technology, so they're so savvy about it. Where sometimes it might take somebody who's older a little more time to do it. And they, of course, there's a lack of respect for that. But the alternative is you can get a lot of history from somebody who's older who can say, I've had that happen. Let me
Hmm.
tell you a strategy that will work. So we need to be again back to that kind of respectful thing that's going on. So the strategies of how to get along with people and how to communicate well aren't just about being kind and nice and saying hello. They're understanding that we each bring something special to the table. And whatever that is, we need to respect it. And we need to think, you know, I've got this issue here and I'm not sure how to solve it, but I haven't been around long enough in a corporate, in a corporate world or in a business place to know what it really means. Can you help me? People love to be asked to help. They do. And then they'll do the same thing back. And then all of a sudden you have people who are talking to each other of all generations. And that's what makes it work. So be thoughtful and be generous of spirit. And instead of thinking, what's that old guy still doing here? Thinking, you know what? They clearly are serving an important purpose. Maybe I should find out what that is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's so there's but communication in general is really so Aristotle is considered to be the father of communications. And there were three things he talked about. One was ethos, which is, do I trust this person? And are they the expert at what they're doing? Because why are they speaking to me versus somebody else speaking to me?
Hmm.
Then the second one is about logos or logic. Are they reasonable? Can I understand what they're saying? So now we have to speak in a way that helps people understand. And I work with a lot of clients who have trouble with that. Like, let's just say, for example, engineers who spend their day writing code and they're doing all this formulas thing. Like, if I looked at it, it's complete gibberish.
Yeah.
But they need to be able to explain why something works. So we have to, so we've got to be understandable. And then the third part is about pathos, however you want to say it, which is really about emotions and feelings. And that is in order to get somebody to trust and like us and to understand us, we also have to be able to persuade them or allow them to think that we want them to feel whatever it is we're telling them. So those are the three key components of all communication. And if you think about it in today's world, we got a lot of work to do.
Yes, I was going to say that's very true because it's the phones, I think. I think people just don't know how to communicate properly, right? Everyone, wants to just text and they don't want to talk and there's no real interaction for a lot of people or people are just not used to it anymore. I think COVID really helped increase that, unfortunately. I mean, in one ways we got the Zoom going and all of this is great, but on the other hand, it's just made it a lot more difficult for people to be able to like look like you're saying. And you said, like, I love that you said that when the first impression is really like looking into a person's eyes and that's the key for everything. Like if I'm purchasing something and even the cashier, their head is down the whole time and there's no like, just look at my face, give me a smile. There's no, I'm just like, wow, that was rude. That was kind of disrespectful. So that's really, really important. And I hope, I don't know, I hope somehow the future generation is able to learn that or at least teach it to their own kids because we're lacking that a lot.
We are, and sometimes when you talk with, I have a daughter that's in her early 30s, and when you talk to them, they'll say, "Well, I didn't really have to do a lot of communication when I was in college, when I was learning." And because we had the computer and we had the text and we have the this and we have the that. And I just say to her, you got to tell people what you're thinking because it's just so important. And plus, sometimes sharing ideas, having a funny conversation, it's so much fun. Sitting down with somebody, having a glass of wine and talking about the world. And and I'm not suggesting that we have these conversations that then turn into political
Yeah.
arguments. Hey, what a beautiful day. Didn't this remind you of blah 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 blah? And then all of a sudden you get off on this whole other tangent that just is really fun, or somebody gives you a great idea, or whatever it is. Sharing, this is what human beings are, and this is what
Yeah.
separates us from that kind of those two letters we use all the time called AI.
It's,
So,
and I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that I go to a restaurant and I see people, whether they're on date night, whether they're families, young, old, even much older. Like I would think the older generation, but they're like learning to be like the younger generation. And they're even on their phones, like watching Instagram, watching a movie, watching some joke or ESPN. And I'm like, why are they out here like paying, for this expensive meal? They should just be sitting at home and doing the same exact thing because they're all here alone. They're not together.
right, I see it all the time. I don't allow phones to be on the table or anywhere near me during a dinner unless
Me
there's
too.
reason for it. They stay in my pocketbook or my pocket, or sometimes I don't even I don't even bring them along. And it's kind of funny because like, I forgot my phone the other day. And at first I thought, oh, what if somebody needs me? What if something happens? It was like 7 o'clock at night on a Sunday. I'm like, who needs me then?
It's so
So,
true. We're attached to it. I mean, I feel like for me, it's really like if my kids are with me, then I don't really like, I'm like, it's fine. Everything else can. But if they're not, then it's kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna have it near me just in case there's an emergency. But besides that, I don't understand. It's just the way it is. So
you want to go over and take people's phones away, don't you?
yes, I do. I want to say something always, always. And my husband's like, don't get involved, Pearl. Just walk away. Because it just bothers me, But and I noticed actually when I was in Europe a month ago, like, and every time I go, it's the same thing. It's you hardly see people on their phones. Even like younger people, like in their 20s, they're playing Uno, they're playing cards at a coffee shop. And I know my daughter's actually studying abroad over there in Spain till December. And she was telling me, Mom, it's like some coffee houses that you go to on the weekend, they don't even allow laptops. They want people to come and have conversations. They have a sign like, if you're coming in with your laptop, don't come in. I was like, wow,
Wow, that's great.
that's great, right? So, I love that because then you see like then people, I mean, they're sitting at Starbucks for like 12 hours, taking up all the seats. And it's their office at the coffee shop, but
I
it is
know.
what it is.
Yep. Yep. I mean, we can't change it single-handedly, but I do believe the art of conversation
Yeah.
is lacking, and I would love to change that because you learn so much from another human being when you start to talk to them about where they've been, what they know, who they are, the things they've witnessed, and it just enhances your own brain power and your own ability to understand and think. It's
It's so
important.
true. I agree. You know what? I think the only thing at this point that we can do is really one person at a time, our families, and then just pass that along to whoever we can and make sure that we are being mindful of our communication skills and putting our phone away and looking people directly in the eyes and, having those skills to pass along because it makes people's days. Like if someone looks up to me and, says good morning and just smiles, it changes my whole mood.
Me too. I agree. I love it. So we'll start our own little revolution.
Yes, we will together, Jane, me and you. So,
That's great.
the other thing I was going to ask you, because I know you've done a great job of reinventing yourself. And I think a lot of us, women feel scared. There's a certain age, certain point in our life that it's like, like we were talking earlier, like it's too late for me. I'm too scared. I can't do this. So, if you like, from your perspective, what steps does someone need to take if they truly want to create that kind of transformation? I know it's first they have to believe in themselves, right? And like put away those voices, the negative voices, and move forward. But besides that, I mean, you've done a great job because you went from one career to another successful career along the same line. But now it's like you're passing on your skills that you have learned all these years to other people so that they can become better communicators, better speakers, and more visible.
I think the most important thing is that we have to really up our confidence. So, how do you build confidence? You don't build confidence by talking about what you can't do. So, one of the things I like to do with people is suggest that they create a list of what are they really, really good at. And then they write it down. Let's just say, I'm really competent at X. I love to talk to people. I'm punctual, whatever it is, but make a list of at least 10 things that you know you don't do really well. Then write another list that are things that you never, ever want to do again in a job. Now, one of them for me was never having to get up at 3:20 a.m. again.
I
So,
can't believe you did that all those
a
years.
long
That sounds
time.
really painful.
So, so what is it that I really, what's a non-starter? So then write that down. Then getting back to that notion of asking other people, our perspective of ourselves is completely different of what other people think of us. And one of the ways you can tell that is take a video of yourself just having a conversation, play it back, and you're going to be shocked at the way you look, shocked at the way you talk, maybe most of the time pleasantly, but most of the time we whine and say, oh, I hate my hair. I don't like my voice. I mean, and men do it too all the time. So ask five people. And I say, I pick five because you want more than one, but you don't want a whole lot of people. And they could be a spouse, a sibling, a best friend, a coworker, somebody from your past, and even, one of your kids, and just ask them for a phrase or a big adjective that describes you. And then write all those things down because it's going to surprise you. And you say, I'm really like that. So now you've got your own kind of wish of these are the things that I know I'm really good at. Then you've got these are the things that I will absolutely not do. Then here's what others think of me, which is going to surprise you and will probably most likely build your confidence. Then you're going to say, what if I could do anything in the world, what would it be? Now you write that down. So now you've and you put it all in this map and you start to connect the dots and you look at it all and go, oh, 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 okay. And that will give you some ideas of which direction you should head. Then figure out what is it that you really, truly want to do? What would it take to get there? And you take small steps to start. But you got to not make excuses because the moment you start making excuses, it you won't do it. You'll never do it. Now, so building up your confidence, let's say that you're somebody who's never really been very good at speaking out. You've never been a good like speaker in front of people. So start doing it. Just start doing it on a very small scale. Maybe volunteer to do something and lead a group of volunteers or do something where you actually have to use your voice. But you have to start building up your own confidence by doing things that you know you can do well. So you do all of that, and then it'll all start to click. And the other thing is talk, 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 talk to people. Now, you don't like I made the mistake of saying, I'm writing a book this year. And so I started writing it. Actually, this was last year, last fall, almost a year ago. I started writing it and I thought I'd completed it and I started showing it to people. And every single one of them said, you need to change this, you need to change this, you need to change this. You know what I did with that book? It's sitting in a drawer. Big
Yeah, that's what happens.
Now, I will get back to it, but with true confessions, I did get really busy, so I didn't have time to work on it. But I do swear I will finish it. I'm just not making that promise to anybody right now. But so don't go say, I'm starting a boutique and I'm going to sell the greatest clothing in the world unless you have already put the plans in place, right? So I want you to
Right.
be careful about how much you tell other people because you almost want to have it become something you do and you create ahead of time. But I'm saying a lot of things that I want you to use as a means of figuring out what is it I really, really, really want and then try to go for it. What's the worst that could happen? You know, what if
Exactly.
you'll still be in the if it doesn't work, you're still in the same place you were. And what if it does? And the other thing, ask for help because like let's just say you see a building and you know you want to lease it for a store that you want to have, but you don't know a good lawyer or a good realtor. So you ask a friend and you say, I need, if they recommend somebody, you go to them. And then that person will tell you about somebody else for another part
Hmm.
of it. So you build this little network of people that are all there to help you. And you're not shouting from the rooftops, this is what I'm doing, but what you are is you're carefully and craftily creating a community that's there to support you when you need them. And community helps us.
Exactly.
So it becomes really it all just builds, but you got to start.
You have to start somewhere. I love every step, every advice, the mapping, everything that you just told us. And the only thing I'm going to add is that just be careful who you talk to because make sure you have a good group of friends or safe people that you're comfortable with because unfortunately it just takes that one negative, I say that like the vampire energy friend, that just kind of bursts your bubble like the moment that you're trying to share this exciting news, share this thing that you're passionate about but you're fearful and you want your friends support, then that's going to take you down, that in
Mm.
a wrong direction. So just make sure you're surrounding yourself with the right positive people that are going to support your dreams and back you up and be honest with you but in a positive, like in a real authentic way.
Yes. Well, you talked about being
Yeah.
authentic before, and
Yeah.
being authentic is being truly who you are. Authenticity is extremely important. If you try to be somebody else, it's never going to work. And I'll tell you one thing, the one thing that doesn't ever lie is the camera. The video
Yeah.
camera does not lie. People keep thinking, oh, I've
Act
learned
it. Yeah.
all
People
of
can tell. People can tell.
all my
It's
years
so
of
true.
television, it comes shining through. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's very true about the vampire energy. So that's what I was saying was when you don't talk, don't talk about it to everybody.
Yeah.
So be selective, but you will be surprised at the people who will be willing to help you.
Yeah.
Uh, I've gone to people that I hadn't talked to in 10 years and said, I'm doing this. Could you write a little endorsement for me? Or could you do this? And they're going, sure, when do you need it? But I've also done it for other people. And I consistently try to build people up because why do we want to put anybody down?
Of course. It's very true. All that collaboration. As a woman, we all need to work together and build that community. Jane, I've loved talking to you just to be respectful for your time. I think in this episode, we've just explored the power of communication because mastering this art is the key to becoming a true conversation rock star. Jane, again, the 9-time Emmy Award winning journalist. She's amazing. She has showed us how reinvention isn't a setback, but a superpower. Her own story, right, proves that life's transitions can be the most powerful catalyst for growth and impact. She has shared invaluable insights on body language, tone, how to own the room with quiet confidence. She reminds us that anyone can learn to speak with power and listen with intent and inspire with purpose. Thank you, Jane, for your wisdom and presence on my show today. All the links will be in my show notes so that people can get a contact of you. Is there anything else you would like to share with us?
Just remember that you can do it. You can do anything you really set your heart on, but you got to do it. So try. Just try. That's all I got to say.
So I'm going to leave you with that. Just try, do not give up, and take that first step. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you for spending this time with me here on Female Fluence, where we rise, reflect, and remember who we are. If something from today's episode spoke to you, share it with another woman who's ready to rise too. And before you go, download your free empowerment coaching guide at femalefluence.com. It's your next step toward living with more clarity and confidence. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at pearlmashure_femalefluence. And if you're ready for deeper support, sign up for a free discovery call. I would love to connect with you. Remember, my friends, don't just exist. Live your life fully, bravely, and in truth. I'm Pearl Mashure, and until next time, stay true, stay powerful, and stay you.